Hello, so today I'm going to be going over the accumulate function with iterators. So question 3 asks, given some list of numbers, mutate that list to have the accumulated sum of all elements so far in the list. If list is a deep list, mutate it to similarly reflect the accumulated sum of all elements so far in the nested list. And so let's go ahead and make a few notes on what we want to do. So given a list of numbers, we want to mutate that list to have the accumulated sum of all elements so far in that nested list, or in that list. Great. So if we wanted to go ahead and take a look at our accumulate function and look at the docstring, given a list L with integers 1, 5, 13, and 4, when we call accumulate and pass in L, we would get 23. And to get that, we would do 1 plus 5, and then that sum added to 13, and then that sum added to 4. So essentially you get 1 plus 5, which is 6, and then add that to 13, which gives you 19, and then add 19 to 4, and that gives you 23. Then when you call L, you would get the new mutated list, which is 1, 6, 19, and 23, rather than the 1, 5, 13, 4, which we had. Great. So then if we look at the deep L, we see a list with a nested list, 3, 7, and then an inner list with 2, 5, 6, and 9. And when we call accumulate on the deep L, we would get 32. And by getting that, we're essentially doing that same process by adding everything in that list, regardless if it's in that inner list. So we get 3 plus 7, which is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17, plus 6 is 23, and then plus the 9 is 32. Great. So then, now that we got that 32, then when we call the new list, we would get the new mutated list, which is 3, 10, 2, 7, 13, and 32. And the reason why we have 2, 7, and 13 is because we called the accumulate function on the inner list of the 2, 5, 6. Because when we call the accumulate function on 2, 5, and 6, we get the 2 plus 5, which is 7, plus the 6, which is the 13. So that's how we get 2, 7, and 13. Okay, so now that we understand how this function is going to work, we're going to go ahead and start building our code. So we see that they've given us the sum so far, which is probably going to be keeping track of our sum so far. So let's see. We have the first for loop, and what we want to do is first iterate through the list that we are given. So let's see. Use pink. We can do for I in range length of list in order to go through that. So for I in range length of list. What we want to do is create the item create a variable called item and set it to be the list, the new list. And if is instance item is a list, which would return true, then the inside is when we want to call the accumulate function again on the new item. So essentially what we did was just create a list out of each element in that list and then check if that item is a list. Then inside we want to call the accumulate function again. And that's in the case if we find ourselves with a nested list. We want to be able to call that accumulate list again. And if that's the case, then we want to add that to our sum so far. by adding inside. Great. So then if our item in our list, so let's say if we iterated and we got 3, 7, and then we came across this list, we step inside and do all that. But if it's not a list, and let's say we ended up with like 3 or 7, then we just want to update our sum so far by that item. Great. And then the last step in our list is that then we just want to progress through our list and make it to the next one. Because we're adding it onto each other. So like the 3 plus 7, the sum of that is going to be added to the next number. So the next item would be sum so far. Great. And then we are missing one more line here, but once we are done with creating our method, we just want, we want to return our sum so far. And that concludes the accumulate function. Thank you.